Max Mannering. I'll be the first team skipper for Rowant this year, going into the Prem season.
Nice. And that is a new role going. Well, you got announced as the Oxfordshire skipper, and then now the Aston Rowant skipper. What made you kind of take on that role?
Yeah, so it's been something which has been in the pipeline for a little bit of time. We had discussions about 3 years ago about it, as to whether I was going to take it then or not. At that point in time, was working in London, living in London, as I still am. But yeah, it was probably wasn't the right time. We thought that Carl was better placed to do it with his sort of seniority in the club and where he was at the time. So he took it on, and has done it for 3 years with me as his vice. I got made Oxfordshire 3-day captain last year, and we'll be continuing that this year. And then the plan, as it has panned out, was that I was going to take the first team captaincy at Rowan, with TC Tom Condon as my vice captain going forward.
Nice. And is that something that you've kind of, as a junior player, and even kind of, I mean, I guess now you're a senior player in the home counties. Is that something you've always wanted to do, or is that something that kind of crept up and you're like, yeah, I'll give it a go?
I think so. It is something I've certainly wanted to do. I've captained sides all through age group cricket, and then when I got to university in my third and fourth year, I captained Exeter Uni one side. So it's something that I've wanted to do for a while, and actually, yeah, it's something that's been in the pipeline, and I'm glad to sort of get going on it. It's exciting times.
That's exciting times. And we'll go through a little bit about last year. How do you feel on the whole? Where did you end up in the league? I can't remember off the top of my head, but where did you end up? How do you think it went as a whole? Highlights, challenges?
So I mean, we were in that bottle job category, where we had an opportunity on the last day of the season
Yeah,
to
yeah.
win it. Well, I think we ended up coming fourth in the end, but everybody was so tight up at that top end. And it's, I guess we've been challenging for that title for a while, but ultimately it was never ours to win. I don't think last year, realistically, we probably performed enough if we looked introspectively and said, right, did we really deserve it last year? I wouldn't have said so. No. But ultimately, yeah, I thought we had an opportunity on that last day of the season to go and chase 180 against Wickham, and we couldn't do it. Again, a bit of a bottle. I think there was some part of us that was certainly looking at phones, looking at scorecards, seeing that Finch weren't going so well against Henley, and it was kind of a bit of a three-horse race at that point, and Henley came out on top. So congratulations to them for that. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing on the final day of the season for sure. Ultimately, did we deserve it? No.
It's interesting you say that. I've been talking with a few people. Do you think anybody really deserved it? I mean, it was one of those years where you didn't really have, I mean, except with Finch, you didn't really have anyone that really took it by the horns and went at it. Do you think anyone deserved it?
I think that's a good point. But what I would say with Henley is that they stayed in games maybe where they were behind. I thought they did that incredibly well. They stayed in games and managed to get double figure points in most of the games that they played, especially in the Red Bull, where they didn't win a huge amount of games, but ultimately they didn't lose a huge amount either. And and it's sort of that longevity, the consistency that they showed. I think ultimately, probably yes, they did. I mean, Finch came out the traps early doors and won a load of games to begin with. Then Chris Britts leaves, and they fall away slightly, but they're an exciting young side. And I mean, they've signed Mars, haven't they? So that's an exciting signing for them. Tough, slightly more tough. You've made your own signing, so
Yeah, we've got our own.
yeah. But I do think Henley probably deserved it on the balance of things. They've got a really good side. They've got a good young side, and so do Finch actually. So yeah, I thought no one grabbed it. Different sides at different points, and we were always there or thereabouts. But as I say, just didn't quite have enough to get over the line.
How important do you think it is that teams start to really nurture that Red Bull stuff? It feels like year on year, the Red Bull stuff is what wins it. We've got such dominant pink ball sides that actually, it's won in the Red Bull game. Do you think we'll start to see a shift towards people really trying to focus on that rather than the pink ball?
I think so. I mean, it's different. It's different to sort of international and professional cricket, where the white ball and the pink ball. I believe the white ball's coming in for us in 2026. It looks like, So it's going to be away from the pink ball stuff into the white ball stuff. But yeah, I'd agree with that. It's certainly opposite to the professional game in that we do have some quite dominant pink ball sides in the league, and normally the sides at the top of the league will win 5 or 6 out of those 9 pink ball games, and then it's what you can do
Mm.
in those red ball games. Henley set precedent last year of, well, it's games we don't lose is a good thing, and I agree massively because ultimately it can be very, very hard to bowl a side out if they don't want to be bowled out.
Mm.
If you go and get 320, 330, there are some sides that just don't chase it, which is a shame. And I don't think it's a great look for the league. I don't think it's a great look for cricket in general. But it does lead to an interesting captaincy dilemma because you get to sort of 250, 260, and you're like, well, do we pull out actually? Do we pull out now, declare, and see whether the dangle the carrot and see whether they go for it? But ideally, we'd like to be a chasing side
Mm.
in that red ball stuff so that we can dictate the game. And I think I don't know whether that's necessarily the way we'll go about it going forwards with the makeup of our side, but yeah, I think that red ball stuff is so important, especially with sort of the points you can gain a lot of ground in that red ball stuff, 25 points compared to the 20, and then if you do beat someone well, you can sort of make a 20-point gain on people during that red ball stuff. So yeah, I think it is incredibly important.
It's interesting to talk about, the captaincy dilemma there and how. I, j- do you think we'll see more teams starting to declare and try to bowl sides out and making that risk? I know as a sider we were getting rather frustrated with teams blocking out for a draw from ball one. Do you think we're going to start to see a shift towards people declaring and saying, no, I'm not going to give you a choice. I'm going to dangle that carrot, as you say.
You'd hope so, but then you do have sides which are naturally towards the lower end of the league that their primary goal of the season might not be to go and win a title. Their primary goal might be to consolidate their position in the league,
Mm.
and because of that, ultimately their aim is not to go and win
Mm.
10, 12 games which wins you a league. It's to go and win 5 or 6 and make sure they don't lose the others.
Mm.
So I think there's a difficulty there. It's kind of semi like the Premier League. You've got I'm certainly not going to name clubs. I'm not going to name individuals, but there are sides that have traditionally been at the top, sides that have traditionally struggled a slight bit more, and I do think that plays a part, especially when there's draws involved. In the
Mm.
50 over stuff, they don't get the opportunity to do that. They don't get the opportunity to batten down hatches and frustrates all. But sometimes that's necessary. It's part of the tactics of the game, I guess. It's a more complex game than a lot of 90-minute sports or 80-minute
Yeah,
sports.
that's true. And you talk about how Finch and Henley both have quite a young, fresh side next year, and how that will probably play quite an important part. What's your side looking like for next year?
We're looking strong, which is nice. We haven't really lost anyone other than Ben Labar. He's gone back to Australia. He's done his 3 years here. He's found a girl and he's going back home. Which he's done 7 seasons on the trout on the bounce, bless him. And I think that for anyone, seven cricket seasons on the spin is tough. So we wish him the best of luck going back home. But he's been absolutely fantastic for us. With the bat this year, he was fantastic, or last year rather, he was fantastic. And with the bat and ball, realistically, for the last 3 years, he's been awesome. So that is a big loss. And we obviously lost Leo Bethel a couple of years ago as well. Recruiting, we've recruited fairly well, but ultimately we've got quite a young side as well. So you're looking at your Tristan Russo's, your Luke Hayes of the world, and we're sort of pinning a fair few hopes on them purely because they've had a year at uni. Um, it's like at uni, you hit so many balls compared to what you do in day-to-day life and at school. And they're both playing sort of first team cricket there, which is exciting. We've got a good London core as we have done. We train in London as well as back in Oxfordshire, which we find really, really useful because it means we can get people from the ones, twos, and threes training in London as well as outside London, which is super. I guess I frame this as quite a young side, but we're not as young as as maybe I think we are, because maybe I'm going into the age of not a youngster anymore. At 27, 20, well, 20, be 28 by the time the season starts. So you've got Cal Russ, Ollie Burland, Tom Condon, you've got Chris Watlings, Josh Smiths, all still there, still raring to go. Penners, Carl Penhell, he's coming back strong. Hopefully his hamstring holds up this year, which should be a big one for us because we're looking for him to take the new ball. And then Elliot Matthews, who was for us a real surprise package over the last couple of years. He'd come back into the club after a period away, plying his trade at Oxford, and he's also done quite a lot of net bowling at Lords and things like that. And he's really come back with a drive. And he was fantastic last year. His off spins come on leaps and bounds, and he's a really really good asset for us now.
Yeah. You talked very briefly about your training regime in the winter, and lots of teams do it differently. Is there anything kind of from last year that you're really going to harrow in during winter training for this year?
A bit more situational training. I think sometimes so many people go into, well, we crunched quite a lot of numbers from last year. Thankfully, TC has been fantastic. Tom Condon been awesome at that, and he's created some great spreadsheets for us. And what we've isolated is that our dot ball percentage was so high. We had during our 50 over games, we had an average of 173 dot balls, which is mental. So that's something we're going to focus on massively. Where's your single? Where's your outlet? For the batters especially. And then on the flip side for the bowlers, I think it's building that dot ball percentage on the other end. So our average was 173, our opposition's average was 165. That's something we're looking to close the gap at dot balls in our 50 over games. So that's going to be a big one for us, I think.
A lot of teams are during the winter prioritizing their kind of getting together, being social, especially now. There's been a big shift this year with lots of transfers, lots of moves. But you guys have, in time stayed relatively similar. Do you think that helps with going into the season? You all know each other so well, or do you think actually having someone new brings, I don't know, something new to the side socially?
I think you look at what we've lost and what we've gained. There's natural bedding in periods, and I'd say this for all signings in throughout the whole league. You look at a new signing, and unless they're a league regular or a league veteran, they don't tend to do amazingly well in that first season.
Mm.
However, what I would say is that there's a natural flush out of players. People move, they've got changes in life circumstances, but you need that natural rotation to keep the side fresh because otherwise people get complacent. And I think we've thankfully been able to do that. We've also had quite a lot of senior members of the club, not necessarily phase out, but their sort of playing role within so the upper teams at the club have slightly faded, or that they've become husbands, wives, got kids, and things like that. So their role in and around the club socially has maybe slightly diminished. You lose a big personality like Leo, as well. And actually now we've had that sort of influx of younger lads coming in that are now 18, 19, coming back from uni. That social side is something that we're massively looking to not revamp. I think we do it well, but it's just looking to keep it ticking over. And obviously, if you've got an influx of young lads who enjoy that social side of it, we do meetups in the winter. We've got a couple lined up before the season, so yeah, I think the natural rotation is good for both the playing side and the social side, but you do need to replace the people who maybe were such big characters that you've lost.
Yeah. And going into next year with, people maturing maybe slightly as players, playing lots of cricket at uni. Obviously, you're going to want to contend for that win. What do you think it is that you guys need to change? You guys are always in that top three, top four every single season. A couple of seasons ago, you ended up winning it, but you're always there in contention. What do you think it is that's going to shift it where you can go, yeah, we absolutely smashed it this year?
An interesting question, and I think we've tried to isolate about. We've had a couple of meetings and sent a lot of stuff around to the boys and say, right, what did we do well last year? what did we not do well last year, and what do you want to see out of your cricket? So I think that's really important. What do the guys want to see out of their cricket? Because if they feel like they're achieving, then as a team, generally you achieve quite well. And part of it is like enjoying the game. I think there have been parts over the last few years where we get so introspective and so focused on the end result that we don't enjoy the process of what we're actually doing. The fact that we're all young lads in our 20s and 30s, teens, 20s and 30s, and enjoying the fact that we're going to be able to play together, and go out on the field together and really get after a team. And I think that's going to be a massive thing for us, is getting around each other a little bit more. Um, and that seems like quite a flowery answer, but actually, I think when you get the vibe right within a team, it can go a long way to winning games. Tactically, what are we going to do to sort of win the league? I guess be a bit smarter at certain points of games. I think we lost games which ended up losing the season ultimately for us. Our ultimate goal is always going to be to try and win the league, but we lost games at key moments. I can isolate a couple. There was one against Henley at home, which turned out to be a season-defining moment, where we were maybe a little bit naive, as to what we were doing, and the bowling plans we had, at the back end. And those moments you look back on in December, January, and think, oh, if only we'd have thought about that then. Easy to say in hindsight. But I think just a bit more calmness in the key moment, and taking the opportunity when it comes. That maturity, I think, is a big thing as well of a couple of the young lads. Um, when they come back, we're expecting them to win games for us now. It's not about, right, you've had your year and a half now to be blooded into the league. It's a tough league to come into and it's competitive, but you're at an age now where you can go and win games. It's not about you just being part of this side and developing into it. You're a talent. Go and win us some games now.
That's a good way to think about it. Um, you've got quite a, how do I phrase it? Rowdy supporters at Aston Rowant,
The fossils.
particularly against Wickham. But I think it's quite nice. How does that help you guys? Do you find that you're more motivated when you're playing? Is there a sense of like, yeah, I want to do it for these guys, or do you just block them out?
Without a doubt. The fossils are amazing. They're on the balcony every week, and they travel home and away. We absolutely love them, and we love it when they're there. Um, I mean, they get stuck into us as much as an opposition team. Yeah, they're awesome. And they drive that social element of the club. We want to do it for them. When we won the league, they were the first people we go up to, give a hug, because they know what it's like. They put so much effort into the club, in and around the club, the ground, the running of the club itself, that we feel like we owe it to them, that they're going to come every week and put all this effort in. We owe our full effort on a Saturday to them. I think it keeps us nice and accountable as well, and that's something we'll definitely be keeping going forward. We absolutely love them.
I'm glad you love them. We absolutely.
I bet those sides do.
I think there was one game at Wickham where you had more supporters than we did, and we were just being abused on our own team ground. We're like, what is going on?
What
No,
is going on?